President, when is the last time you spoke with Governor Newsom?
A day ago. Called him up to tell him, got to do a better job. He's doing a bad job, causing a lot of death and a lot of potential death. If we didn't send out the National Guard, and last night we gave him a little additional help, you would have, Los Angeles would be burning right now.
President Trump claiming in the Oval Office on Tuesday that he spoke to California Governor Gavin Newsom the day prior about the ongoing violent protests against ICE in Los Angeles.
But Governor Newsom had strong words in response to the president, denying that there was a call on Monday. Newsom took to X saying, quote, "There was no call, not even a voicemail. Americans should be alarmed that a president deploying Marines onto our streets doesn't even know who he's talking to."
After that denial, Fox News pounced. Anchors John Roberts and Jesse Waters both claiming Newsom lied and bringing the alleged receipts. They showed a screenshot of Trump's call log with Newsom that they obtained from Trump administration officials.
But in the haste to catch the alleged lie, Waters in particular cut out the part where Trump said he called Newsom Monday, and instead made it seem like Newsom had denied ever receiving a call from Trump. Take a listen.
He says if it wasn't for him, LA would be up in smoke.
Called him up to tell him, got to do a better job. He's doing a bad job.
Newsom responded, and he said there wasn't a phone call. He said Trump never called him. Not even a voicemail, he said. But John Roberts got Trump's call logs, and it shows Trump called him late Friday night, and they talked for 16 minutes. Why would Newsom lie and claim Trump never called him? Why would he do that?
That call that was shown in the log was from early in the morning Saturday, a call that Newsom had indeed said did happen. Fox's coverage is now receiving some backlash for what people on the left are calling deceptive editing, turning Trump's own term back on his preferred cable news network after he sued CBS for its 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris last October. I was quite entertained by this, I must say, because I do think that it is a much much clearer cut example of deceptive editing than the CBS thing. I do want to exempt John Roberts from my remarks, because he did say when he was reading out the screenshot when that call happened, early Saturday Eastern time, very late Friday night California time. But Waters didn't, and simply clipped off the words that Trump said. And those words are very important because Gavin Newsom was not actually lying.
Yeah, I think he got caught with his pants down, no question. And after Trump made this remark and then Newsom denied the call happened, I actually asked our White House correspondent to reach out and ask if there was a call log or a transcript or something that would definitively prove whether or not that call took place. And I think it was only 15 minutes later that John Roberts was on air with this screenshot of the phone call.
Maybe you'd prompted that screenshot being sent
I don't think we had even reached out at that point, but I wish I could take credit.
Sure.
But yeah, I thought it was a reasonable investigatory thing to do, but unfortunately what ended up happening is that either somebody didn't pay attention to the timestamp on the call or the date on the call, or just didn't care and used this as evidence of Trump being correct when it wasn't.
That's right. That is exactly correct. And I think that given that the later show was the Jesse Waters show, it is harder to justify that mistake being made a considerable period of time later, whereas in John's case, he was reacting very quickly, almost as I gather, in the moment, and was correct. So I think that is really important. I'm sure that people perhaps watching this discussion will be like, well, it doesn't really matter. The reason the substance of it matters is that Newsom's original criticism was that the call on Saturday morning, on that call log, was one that Newsom acknowledged but complained that Trump had not told him that he was going to deploy the National Guard or said anything about the National Guard on it. That was Newsom's focus of complaint. Then when Trump gave that misleading, well, we don't know actually, to be fair, but he said on Tuesday that he'd called him on Monday, which there's no evidence of yet. By that stage, the National Guard had been deployed. So that's why, or the order had been given to deploy them. That's why there is a substantive significance to the change. But in relation to the edit of the Trump clip, I think that is just blatantly deceptive on its face. It is creating the false impression that Newsom had been disproven, and he had not been disproven at
And
all.
this should be a lesson in crisis communications, because the White House could have easily pushed down this narrative by saying the president misspoke. He was talking about the
Exactly.
call on Saturday. And instead, they put out this call log that actually disproved what the president said,
Right.
when it could have just been, hey, this was a simple mistake. He got his dates mixed up.
Yeah.
You know, no big deal. And oftentimes, when you try to double down on things that really aren't that big of a deal, it ends up making it seem like a bigger scandal.
Yeah, and you know, obviously I'm very critical of Trump in lots of ways, but I'm glad we played the clip, because when he was asked, when he'd spoken about Newsom, he seemed to like think about it for a while, and he was like, yesterday. You could make the case that he simply misspoke. He'd got the day wrong, and that could have been cleared up. Now it is mushrooming into this larger issue, and I think that is damaging. I get back to what I consider Trump's completely vexatious suit against CBS. I wonder if he'll support Governor Newsom filing a $20 billion damages suit against Fox News for this piece of deceptive editing, which I think is much more potentially mendacious.
Could do.
Could do. We shall see.
We have a lot more topics to talk about on Rising right after this.